We are ready to go. Let's do it.
All right. Thank you, Viviana. Thank you, Susana and Selena. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you for your patience. I know for those of you that are watching the rebroadcast of these video in Facebook, sorry, we did experience some technical issues. These are the kind of things that we're facing with all of these new exposure to technology, but thank you for your patience. Thank you for waiting, and hopefully you'll have a chance to watch this video after we record it. So on behalf of Facebook, welcome again to another edition of Wellness Wednesday. Very, very excited about our session today because we have two very special guests that will be sharing their experiences and learnings during the last several weeks, and we'll be sharing some thoughts about character strengths and how we can use them to our advantage. In case we haven't met before, my name is Raúl Esquivel, and I am a certified health and wellness coach and a member of the HITEC family. And during the last couple of weeks, hopefully you were able to join us or watch some of the videos. We spent quite a bit of time talking about self-care and how important it is to prioritize our own well-being so that we can serve others and serve those around us. We also talked last week about our resources and some of the things we can do to optimize obviously our health, but also our time, our attention, and our relationships. So if you're joining us, again, either you're watching the recording and Facebook or right now through Zoom, we would love to hear your comments. So enter your comments here in the comment section where you're watching from. And again, any questions you have for me or for our guests today. So I mentioned that we're going to talk about character strengths, and I wanted to offer a little bit of context about character strengths and why it's a topic that I'm very passionate about, and I think you're going to find very interesting as well. Character strengths, very simply put, is really any positive trait or parts of our personality that impact how we think, how we feel, how we behave, and how we respond to different situations. Like the situation we're experiencing right now, it's a perfect example. So scientists have been studying character strengths for the last 20 years or so, and they came up with a list of 24 very specific character strengths that are common among not only different people, but different cultures, different religions. All of these character strengths are things that different cultures consider very important to the way they live. Research has also shown that using our character strengths, recognizing them and using them consciously improves our relationships, they improve our health and our well-being, and they prepare us to deal with different situations and adversity, which is something we have quite a bit of right now. Before the end of the session, we're also going to share a couple of resources where you can go and learn more about character strengths, and if you're not sure about what your strengths are, you can find them through a number of activities. And again, it's something that for me personally has been very, very useful. And I'll give you, as an example, my top strengths are fairness, gratitude, forgiveness, humility, and appreciation. And by learning to use them, not only when things are going well, but also when things are challenging and not going so well, I've been able to make very, very big changes in my life. So I'm hoping that you're going to find this information helpful today and take some time to reflect about your own character strengths. So as I said at the beginning, I'm very excited about the session today because I'm joined by Viviana and Susana, who are two very special members of the HITEC team and are going to share some of their experiences during the last few weeks. And so I think we're going to get started. So Susana, I was planning to start with you. And first of all, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for being here with me today and for sharing this time with us. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe share some of the things that you've learned during the last few weeks as we all adapt to this new reality?
Sure. So Susana Ramirez, happy to be here with you all. I am from Costa Rica, so I'm a tica, and I believe that the slogan of Mi Patria, Pura Vida, is something that's really been ingrained in me from childhood. The appreciation of life and pure life and having a laid back kind of attitude and gratefulness for everything that comes your way is been instilled in me since a kid. And having moved 24 times, that also builds up resilience and adaptability, which are needed now more than ever. So that's a little bit about me. And then a little bit I would say about my COVID journey. At first, as Omar and the rest of the team can super attest to, I was like, oh no, this is not happening. We are not canceling the summit. Then we will go on and we will beat this. And then guess what, Susana? It's not about what you think. And it's not about your plans, because you don't control the world. And that was a lesson in humility, but like for real, because I was like brakes on the train of going with the flow like nobody's business. And in the self-reflection that has happened afterwards, that was a real, message. I'm a very spiritual person, so I believe that was a message from God, from the universe, as to like, you do not control. And it's okay to release that control. So when I had to let go and really go with the greater flow of what we were all going through, that was my first COVID lesson, humility. Second COVID lesson was really to curate what I ingest. Not only food-wise, because that was like week one, it was like a baganza of everything that I never eat. Like, yes, Omar, I ate gluten. But it was also starting to limit my exposure to the news. I only watch a half an hour a day. Start to limit my exposure to social media. I check my feeds probably once a day, maybe twice. I do keep up on like Wall Street Journal and Morning Brew and a couple of those types of newsletters. But other than that, it seemed like my world, the more the pandemic grew, the more my world shrunk. And that was very intentional on my part. So I think that if at the beginning phases, of course, grief, processing grief. My son is a super basketball player, and having to let go of a spring season, which is key for college scouts, was hard. Having to let go of Daniel's first year at college, and Gabriela's world being turned upside down at her college as well was really hard. It was awesome. I've always worked from home, so that was good. And having all of my pollitos come back, including El Gallo de la Casa, Robert, that was nice. It was like a little bit crazy at first, but really nice. And after probably like the first week, that humility and that letting go converted itself into leaning in. Like, instead of resisting the process, really leaning into the process and embracing it and seeing what good could come out of it. And so much good could come out of it. And I think we'll touch on that a little bit later on with some of the lessons learned.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And I mean, you can see in everything that you said, I mean, I hear all of these strengths, right? And that's one of the great things about character strengths is that, you know, it's 24 of them. We really have all of them, right, at certain degrees. And it's amazing how resilient we are as human beings. And we naturally adapt depending on the situation, right? So I heard you mention, obviously, a lesson that you learned on humility. I heard a lot of self-regulation and all of the things that you had to do to get used to the new normal and curate not only information, but nutrition and all of the other things.
Yeah.
And I also heard a lot of hope and perseverance at the end when you're now, you know, just accepting the new reality and just going for it, right? Because it's, there's obviously a lot of opportunity in front of us.
There definitely is a lot of hope.
Yeah. Was there anything, any strength or anything that you found surprising about how you responded to this situation, you or your family, or any surprises, anything that really surprised you?
Sure. So especially at the beginning was kind of the end of Lent. and the beginning of spring. And I'm super rooted in a lot of tradition. Like I love the traditions that I've built. Some have been handed down from my parents and my culture, but the not being able to participate in those traditions at first was like unsettling. But then I realized it was really like an opportunity to create the same tradition in a new way and to be super creative in this process. So on Thursday, you know, we washed each other's feet on Holy Thursday instead of going to church to wash others' feet. And the humility to be able to be of service like that, so intimately with my family, which you would think you have that intimate relationship with, but maybe not at that level, was opening. And then we have a tradition where we take a lot of flowers like these that I have in my back here, and we give them to nursing homes. We collect probably about 50 to 60 dozen and drop them off at nursing homes. That didn't happen this year because we weren't allowed, but those flowers were redone to health practitioners. We have a couple of friends who own their own health practices, a pediatric doctor, and so we gave them to her for her to distribute to all of her staff and brighten up their days. So as we've done at HITEC, I've done also personally. We haven't paused in the midst of this pandemic, but rather we've pivoted, and pivoting into something new and unknown and surprising.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing. Viviana, welcome again. And thank you again. Thank you for being here with us today.
Viv, here goes the torch, Viv. It's on to you.
I got it.
Yes, we'll turn it over to you, Viviana. Why don't you share just a little bit about yourself and kind of the same? I mean, what have you learned
Sure.
about yourself and just during this whole situation, and anything you found surprising?
Sure. So I live in Florida, and for me, it's been a little bit of a different scenario. You know, like everybody else, I think it was, you know, first off, a little bit of a shock in terms of what was happening and trying to understand how we kind of adapt into this new place. For me, so I've always, you know, Susana mentioned that we work from home. I work from home as well. And so that hasn't been too much of a change. I think what has been different has been, so I live on my own, and my pollitos aren't with me. They're somewhere else. They're my nieces and my nephews, and we have a really tight family. And so I think for me, that's kind of been like the challenge that I've been faced with. How do I continue connecting with my family and being in touch? And obviously technology is a fantastic channel for that. But as we all know, as humans, it's something that, you know, we want to be with our loved ones, right? Mm-hmm. And so for me, what I've learned about myself has been a couple of things in terms of the strengths that we've been talking about. One just has been, you know, in this time where I feel like sometimes I think one can easily come down on oneself and be like, well, you know, I feel disconnected, is really kind of reaching out to those that are feeling similar and being an ear to those that, you know, are kind of struggling as well, and really being a sounding board for folks. I think that just being able to share experiences and be able to really listen to people in their struggles has helped me, because then, you know, I don't feel like I'm alone in this place. Like, as you know, as we kind of go through this. The other thing that I learned was just, you know, Susana had mentioned that, you know, as an organization, we've really been able to pivot and adapt. And for me, for those of you that know me, kind of in this operational place, I'm very methodical. I like procedure. I like things, you know, step by step. So this kind of new existence, just kind of, all of that just kind of went to the curb and I kind of had to like readjust, right? But I learned that I was able to do that. And I was, you know, in a way really proud of myself that I was able to kind of, and in collaboration with the team, really be able to kind of, okay, we gotta switch things up. We gotta move things around. We're gonna fail fast. For me, the concept of failing fast hasn't come natural to me. So that has been a really fantastic learning experience. And as we go through the motions in this place where, we have to do it, I think that now, as whenever we get to this new normal, where we'll be able to kind of get back into a semblance of a routine and get back to this normal place. But I think it's something that I'll take with me, that I learned, and be like, okay, now I'm not afraid of this anymore. I was able to tackle it, and now I can take it with me for the next phase of what's to come. So for me, it's been this instances of like self-discovery that I didn't realize I had. And now that I found them, I'm like, okay, now I'm going to hang on to them and really use them moving forward.
Yes, no, thank you. Thanks for sharing. And again, I think as with Susana, I can, as we express how we feel and what we experience, I mean, you can hear also some of the character strengths, right? So I think with the first part of what you mentioned about your family, you can hear, the love that obviously you have for all of them, and kindness, and the fact that you want to keep in contact with them. And also a great example of how we, our maybe strengths that are not our top strengths, or that we don't use on a daily basis, sometimes we're put in a position where we have to develop them, right? So looks like creativity has been one of the things that you've have to kind of put in front of you, right? To try to navigate all of the uncertainty, and in some cases not being able to rely on all of the structure that we used to have, right?
Right. Absolutely.
In our previous lives. Good. Any so I think the other question that I wanted, I'll start with you, Viviana, since we're on this topic right now. So I think this new normal there's obviously a lot of challenges and things that we're dealing with, but I think in my case, for example, it's also brought appreciation for things that I either just took for granted, or didn't enjoy before, or didn't really have the opportunity. In my case, I didn't, I did have the flexibility to work remotely once in a while, and I enjoyed it, but it's different, right? When you're now doing it now full time, and kids are at home, and they're trying to learn, and they're trying to play, and they're trying to do all of the things they do as kids. What has been for you maybe the best part of your new routine? What is one thing of your new normal on a daily basis that you really enjoy? Maybe it's all hobbies that you're retaking, or things that you're revisiting that you hadn't had the time before.
Yeah, so I was thinking about this morning, and over the past couple of weeks, we, or maybe not everybody, have a little bit more time, and we have flexibility in our schedules, and things shift around. And in a former life, and Susana knows this, and folks that know me, in a former life, I danced. I loved to dance, and it was something that was very central in my life. There was a time where I was performing quite a bit. It was something that I really enjoyed. And
good at it.
Thanks, Sue. And as kind of life went on, and things get complicated, and I stopped, and I thought about, well, why did I stop? And I had all these fantastic excuses, right? I don't have time. The studio is too far away. I don't want to be surrounded by 20-year-olds, and I mean, being really honest with myself, right? Like, man, they look really good. I don't know if I want to continue doing this. And then in this moment in time, I was like, well, I don't have those excuses anymore. Like, I have a flexible time. I'm literally by myself. Nobody's watching me. And why not take the time to reconnect with that that love that I had? It was really a true love of mine. And so I started just taking virtual dance classes again. And it's been something that's really helped me just kind of get through these kind of, lower moments that everybody has. And kind of just going back to a former self that I missed. And, I think sometimes we want to reconnect with ourselves, and maybe it wasn't the version that it was, 10 years ago, but a version of myself is still there. And it was just been really nice to kind of be like, yeah, I still have a little bit of this. It's still in there. It's still in me. And I was able to kind of, take away all the layers and find her again. So that's been really fun.
Awesome. Yeah, and hopefully it's something that you'll continue to do, right?
I hope so. I
in the
hope
new
so.
normal. Very cool. Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, of course.
Susana, do you want to, maybe the same question to you? What's your the favorite part of your days these days?
Well, I mean, I could not have imagined how the HITEC organization really came together to, in a matter of a week, do that pivot in the way that we operate. And I think out of all of this, of course, I will remember, and I have a title of Jenga Queen. I mean, I have an unbroken record of 40 days of killing it at Jenga. But besides that, HITEC really came together, and in the matter of a week, we knew that our community needed us, and in many different ways, not just because of the content that we're providing on the webinars on Friday, but the wellness, you know, checking in with the emotional and mental well-being of our community, even like mind, you know, body and soul. Members of our community are online doing push-up challenges, which I am not a part of. You know, bicycling all around in different places in their little communities, online communities. We are physically distancing, but we are connecting at a level that we haven't done before as an organization. Mm-hmm. And we are creating new content, PWC, big announcement coming up. And it's like these things were in the works on a aspirational basis. And in a week, we knew we had to bring them together. Concrete plans, action now. And we were able to do that. And there's content that's going to live in our archives on our website that will be available for other members and everything like that. And that is something that I'm so proud of our team for. I'm so proud of our leadership that really came together to make this happen. I don't know how HITEC would have evolved to these highest levels if it hadn't been for this shove. It wasn't even a push, it was like a shove. And I'm so incredibly proud of that. I'm also really, really going to take away from this a new norm. I rarely from now on will schedule 30-minute meetings. I will schedule 45-minute meetings. And I will check in with the people that I care about the most, my points of contact, our corporate partners, our executive champions. And I will spend time at the beginning of the meeting saying, hey, how are you? How are things doing? Like what we're doing now, I will make a point of going forward, even when things go back to a different type of normal, to do 45-minute meetings and to be purposeful in my connections beyond like, let's get to these slides, let's look at this program plan, because I know now a lot more about the people that I interact with on a daily basis. I know now so much more about them, and our relationships are that much more enriched, and they know so much more about me. So those are definitely two things that I will always take away from this time. The proudness I am of our team and of our organization, and being thoughtful about when I have meetings, you know, how much time is dedicated to business and how much time is dedicated to connecting.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's a great reflection. I totally agree. I do think that when we come out of this, I think that our personal connections and our face-to-face connections are going to be so much more meaningful, just because we've had to experience these. And I couldn't agree more about what you said about HITEC. And I'll confess, initially when I first saw the announcement about HITEC Live, I was like, oh wow, how convenient that they had all of these planned and perfect timing. And then I was like, wait a minute. So I totally agree. I think that definitely very proud of all of the work that you have done and the whole team. So.
And you're part of our community too, Raul. You have literally, you epitomize what this is. You build into one another. And this series of workshops that you've created and the content that you've provided has been of great value to the community as we process and things, lessons learned about health and relationships and the paradigm, the way that we look at things is you're literally part of what HITEC success is all about, building into one another. So gracias.
Thank you.
Tomas and Melanie.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we all have something to offer, right? It really is about, you know, putting the time to identify what it is and who can use it. And yeah, if these content that we're sharing can be useful to one person in our community that can make some changes to their lives, I think that would be a huge win.
Yep, I'd like to say Deborah just kind of did in our chat that in her case, she's learned with more patience and understanding, and of course that she doesn't have control, and not to worry about the stuff that you can't control, that letting go, the song from Frozen, let it go.
You know, if I could just add, I think, you know, everything that we learn, I hope that we can continue using that moving forward. You know, to Susana's point, right? She's gonna take what she learned, and, you know, it could be a small thing like taking a 30-minute meeting and making it 45 minutes, but everything that we're learning right now, whether it's patience, whether it's kindness, whether it's, you know, gratitude, looking at things from a different lens, all those things, right? Being mindful about continuing to use that moving forward, even beyond this pandemic, beyond where we are right now, because I think that'll, you know, all of these are huge lessons learned, and I hope we don't forget them, because I think that, you know, it'll make for a better human connection, better understanding of each other moving forward.
And a greater appreciation. Like,
Absolutely.
I appreciate the people on my team, Viv, Omar, Christine, and Melanie. I mean, we all have different strengths. Thank you also for the strength finders. Everybody, it's going to be attached to the Zoom afterwards. Like, it is here a test that you can take. But not only that, it goes beyond the test. Like, now I didn't know how to articulate what were my strengths. I knew I had some, but I didn't know how to articulate them. Here they are, like right there. Y'all see them? And it's in a Post-it note. And so I'm gonna like take this and put it right here behind my computer. And, you know, I will refocus myself now on my strengths and know a little bit more about who I am and be able to articulate that. So thank you, Raul, for that resource. I'm glad that, and we're sharing, you know, you're sharing it with everybody here who can then go ahead, if you're like me and weren't able to like really articulate what your strengths are. Now, you know, and it comes with a definition, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for joining me. This was definitely a lot more fun than doing it by myself the last couple of weeks. So thank you. You're on the hook now for
we'll look for some more volunteers.
Right.
Yeah, but I did want to piggyback into your comment. I really do encourage anyone watching this to just really take some time to think about what your strengths are and how you can use them, right? As Susana said, we'll be sharing the link to the VIA Institute, the Character Institute, where you can take a test, the survey, and then get a free report, which is, again, it's very, very helpful. And there's a couple of things you can do. That one of the things you can do is, as I think both Viviana and Susana showed us today, is just think about what's working. Like, what are the things that are going well today? What are the things that you're doing that you truly enjoy? And then think about what strengths you're using to make those things work. And that is a good way to kind of figure out what your strengths are, and then how you can use them in other areas of your life that you may be needing help with. And again, the other way is just taking the survey is very helpful, and it's very enlightening. I mean, when you look at them initially, it's like, well, yeah, a little bit, and you start kind of watching yourself and seeing yourself, how you connect with each one of those strengths. It's very powerful. So I think with that, before we wrap it up, Susana and Viviana, do you have any final thoughts? Anything? If there's one thing you would like for viewers to take away from this, what would that be?
I would just say, you know, now's the time to kind of stop and smell the roses a little bit. It's okay to take some time. I know we all want to take advantage and be productive. I think my first week, I, you know, cleaned out like 3 closets and did all these things. And now I'm kind of, you know, I think and for some, you know, that time can be very different, but if it's 5 minutes, an hour, or whatever it is, to just really just be for a little bit, that's okay. Take advantage of that.
I think a bit in awe as to how everybody is managing this differently. You know, I'm in a house of 5, and we are all having really different reactions to the current environment, and my teammates have different reactions and my friends have different reactions. And it has just really like opened up my eyes to the world isn't by Susana's viewpoint, right? And that I go forward now trying to be a little bit more empathetic and tuning in to what everybody else is laying down, and really open to the fact that there's other ways to process things than the way that I'm used to processing. And hopefully out of this, I will become a more empathetic person going forward, put that into practice, into all the things. That being said, my younger son isn't talking to me, and my husband says he's trying to avoid me because I'm in a mood. So I don't have this all figured out, people. None of us do.
None of us do. None of us do. Well, Susana, Viviana, thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, HITEC, for giving us this opportunity. I think it's been very special, and hopefully it's been very helpful also for people who've watched us. In closing, I also want to remind everyone that if you're interested in exploring any of these topics in more detail, I'm offering a limited number of free and reduced price coaching programs through the end of May. And really, I mean, just reach out. I love talking about all these topics. You know, no compromise. Just give me a call, schedule some time, and we'll talk about any of these things. You can visit my website at simplegreatness.com and just book a free session there. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you again. And
Gracias.
Thank you, Raul. We appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Everybody, thank you. Bye.
Ciao.